Hey there. In this demo, I'm going to show off some of the features of WinClickPro. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. The first being the UI experience of WinClickPro. I'm going to hit Control-D right now, which will pop open WinClickPro. And this is my own UI experience. No two UIs will really look the same. I went and grabbed all these images off of a freeware site and associated them with these buttons. And then I associated some actions with these buttons, such as launch Gmail, launch Chrome, and I'll do that now. I'll click the Chrome button, and there it launches. You notice that the WinClickPro UI disappears right when I click my action, which is very natural. The thing about the WinClickPro UI is that I'll hit Control-D again. It appears right over whatever I'm working on. You know, right in the middle of my desktop. I can customize where my buttons are located in my interface. So if I know that I'm always perhaps interacting in a certain area on a certain web page and I'm always performing the same action, I can move one of my buttons right. Let's say I move it right over the X button. So every day I pretty much do the same thing. I click this X and then I want to launch something new. Now it's right underneath my mouse. Pretty neat from a power user's perspective. I'm constantly manipulating stuff on the network and moving files around and data, copying things, and this makes my life a lot easier. And I'll get into some of the actions that you can launch. This is all just real simple web stuff. But let's take a look at the concept of views. This is one view, my default view, if you will. I hit Control-D, opens up my default view. But let's take a look at a secondary view. So I click this button and it launches a second view. And here I've got another custom kind of UI, very simple actually, it only took me like a minute to make. And you can see that I got some hover effects here. We can actually associate one of our buttons with the back action, and really that's just navigate to one of my named views. Alright, so we can go back and I can click Show Desktop, which is one of the actions available. Alright, everything goes away. And if I come back here, here's a third view, right? So you can have an infinite number of views. I actually rarely use a whole lot of views. I usually have one major view with tons of buttons on it that do all my actions, but I'm more of a functional person. Here's an example of another UI where I've stolen an image off the internet, and I actually have a button right here in the interface. You can see that this is just actually another button, a large button, and if I click here it'll actually launch Windows Explorer. And I'll show how I did that actually in a little bit. You can also have really creative UIs, like this is an actual button, and I'll show you that you can resize. This is just another button that I can resize, do whatever I want with. So your UIs can get pretty extreme and crazy. I'm more, like I said, more of a functional person. I like just to create a quick button, associate some actions, and then get on with my life. So let's see, what can we show? So let's get into the actions. So I create a new button here, and I'll go Action Builder and click the drop down, and here's a bunch of baked in actions. In maybe a couple minutes here I'll actually get into how you can create your own actions. All of the actions are open source, and in fact the whole entire project is open source. I'll have more information on that on the website, papalava.com. So why don't we, I'll pick launch. If you click the more info button with a command selected, it'll give you all of the arguments you can pass in. We'll just keep it simple, add that, and we'll just launch a notepad. You can launch any application, any browser, and in fact you can launch a series of things back to back. So once this is done launching Notepad, it can launch a second thing and then a third thing. We'll keep it simple for right now. We'll just launch Notepad, and you can optionally provide a name for your button. So I'll do Notepad. There you go. It says Notepad. If you have custom images like these just don't have any text on them. So let's click this one, and there you go. Notepad launches. All right. So why don't we go back in, we'll do a quick edit, and I'll launch a second instance of Notepad so you can see here how the sequencing works. Click OK, and just leave the default name or previous name. And Notice that I can move this around, and you'll find that you click and you accidentally move it. Well, dang it. You can go in and get customize locking options. You can lock the entire view. You can lock all the tiles in WinClickPro, so any view across all views, or just the current tile. So I can lock just this one, so that can't move, but I can still move these, which is kind of fun and useful. So let's go ahead and click this, and we're expecting 2 Notepad instances to launch. And there's one, and there's a second. All right. Launching 2 instances of Notepad, not that interesting, but you can imagine that I can launch. Maybe I come in the morning, I launch WinClickPro, and I click one button, and it launches, my 5 or 6 applications that I use every day. That's kind of nice and convenient. So what else can we show? Let's go back in the Action Builder, and actually when I minimized everything, I lost my notes. There we go. All right. So what can we show? So let's quickly talk about these. A bunch of default actions that I found useful for myself, so I added them. You can launch web pages. You can specify multiple URLs. You can launch any application or file or folder. You can move files around on the network folder. This might be interesting if you need to move some images around automatically, or deployments and things like that. Normalize clipboard text, that's another one I use all the time for copying web content, and then instead of launching Notepad, pasting in my web content to normalize it and then copying it back out into my email or something, I can just click one button and have that all done for me. What else? Copy string to clipboard, that's really useful if you've got you want to paste your signature into a website or an email. You can have it just stored on file and then copy it right into the clipboard and paste it. That's kind of neat. Copy file contents to clipboard. That's another one. Copy date time to clipboard. So you might find that useful if you have to do a lot of processing or something. Let's see. Open view. This is where you can associate a button to open up any number of views. You can see in the UI here, you can remove, you can add arguments. So if the command has multiple arguments, you can add. You can delete arguments. Note that it actually deletes the last argument. You can't delete like argument 1 from here, so you have to delete 3 and then 2. You can also move commands up and down in the list, so as you add a bunch, you can move them around. The timeout, specify that. Obviously, if Notepad takes longer than 5 seconds, the script will provide an error, and then you can shut it down, cancel it, or whatever. Of course, Notepad just launches instantly, so it's not an issue. All right, and there is a little bit of help explaining all of the different things you can do in this dialog here. All right, let's see. What else do we want to show? Let's see. Showed adding a new button. Just click new tile. Why don't we get into the customizations of stuff? So here's our Notepad button, which I don't like it being locked, so I like to kind of move it around. So unlock that one. We'll customize. So here's how you set the image. You can set an image for the current tile, the entire view, so all new buttons will have this look. Or you can set the default for all of WinClickPro. So we'll just change it for this tile. I can restore it to the default, which is this one, actually, because that's for the current view. If I click over to current view, you see that that's the default for the current view. And this is actually the default for all new buttons across WinClickPro. So if I create a new view and create a new button, it'll look like this. All right, and we'll change it for this tile. WinClickPro comes with a bunch of default buttons out of the box. They're just simple, quick buttons. You can create your own, make it the silly character that I was using for a game I was writing. Go online, grab images, use whatever you want. You can see here, here's some of the buttons I made. So why don't we change it to anything. Let's go back and we'll use one of these. I like that silver one. So there we go. Save it. And you can see I still have a hover effect that doesn't really work well with this one. So why don't we change that? Customize, hover effects, background image, and we'll change it from this to, let's see, what else can we use here? It looks kind of, so let's change it to the blue one. Okay, save. So now on hover, you get a different effect. You can change the font. You can make it really large. It does automatic wrapping for you. I might as well just show it. You can apply it to all the different views. Change it to that. Change it to something bigger. Okay. There you go. You can actually apply background color. There is by default no background color, so we'll change it to orange. So if you don't want to use images, but you can't see it because we actually still have the image overlay. So got to go in and remove the image. And now you can see that we just start using the background color plus the image overlay. You can get creative with this. You can actually remove the background color and the background image and end up with just text. And then you can also match the colors with your background and end up with invisible lists and buttons on your desktop if you want to do that kind of thing. But let's see, what else can we do? Hover effects. You can do a hover effect with background color. You can change the font color. I've already showed the locking. You can lock the current tile, the view, or everything. Resizing. I don't think I showed that yet, but you can resize the entire view at the same time. This tends to turn things into a mess, but it's fun to mess around with. You can resize all of WinClickPro, which I probably don't recommend at all. Let's see. Let's do the current tile before I completely destroy this UI. So you can see here. And since this was the last button created, or maybe not, it's underneath this one. So hey, let's change that. Change that to. Oops. Okay, 55. So that'll put it on top of everything else. A little bit of a flicker. You're going to get, I'm going to jump out here and close the dialog that popped open on me. There we go. So you'll get a little bit of flicker as you move things around, but the flicker goes away as you interact with WinClickPro. But anyway, as you see, over the top, you can put it underneath, and that allows you to do some pretty neat effects with it. What else can we show? Oh, we were going to show resize the current view. So resize it to, let's make it smaller because right there. So that resized everything. Again, sort of it's a feature, but not necessarily a feature that's all that useful. All right, back. There we go. Okay. Toggle screen color. So again, depending on your Windows theme, the experience can be a little bit different in terms of transparency. In some versions of Windows, you can interact with the background while WinClickPro is open. Like with this theme that I have enabled, Arrow Glass, whatever, can't interact with the background, so you have to get rid of WinClickPro, interact, and then pop it open again. But with the background, you can actually change the background, so you can do some more interesting effects. Like if I turn this to orange, now you see that blends right in there. And that some people might prefer that sort of pop-up experience. If I go to this one, has the same background, go back. Okay. And then we can toggle it back to transparent. And let's see, what else do we got? You can delete tiles, so you can delete this. You can delete your entire view if you want to do that. And delete that tile. And give feedback more. You can toggle the sys tray icon, so while WinClickPro is running, you can exit it from right here if you want, or launch it in codeplex.com site. So if you want to go check out the source code for this project, you can. Let's see, what's next? Showed back this UI. What do we have here? I showed that one. Oh, let's show, so this is the default view of WinClickPro. When you first start, you're going to have a single button with the default background image. And this is where you can start. You can assign action right to it, or jump in and start creating new tiles and adjusting images on those. And let's see, what else do we want to show? Oh, so let's jump into customizing as quickly as you can. So you see in the action builder here, we have all these default scripts is what they are. They're actually AutoIt scripts. And if we go into the working folder, here they are. So wherever you install WinClickPro, default is program x86, poplava WinClickPro. You can jump into the AutoIt script folder and actually customize these, edit them, create new ones. And so you just have to install the AutoIt IDE. And here's all the code. You can see right here, this is the help file information, so if you want to create these for other people to use, you can provide that, otherwise you don't need it. Just leave it blank. come in here, tweak it, customize it, create new ones, and I guess I'll show an example of that. I'll just copy this one into the folder. Sort of mimic creating a new script. And where did it go? And why don't we quickly change all of this text to blah 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 and blah blah. Okay, and I'll save that. And because the way WinClickPro is designed, without recompiling or restarting WinClickPro, you can just launch the action builder, come up here into the list, and here's the new script. All right, makes it really easy to develop and debug and all that kind of stuff. So I can select it. Now I can select more info, and my blah 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 is there for me, and I can just add it and go. Pretty neat and functional. All right, so let's see. What else can we show? So on the Pop Lava site, I actually have another application. So this is called QuickCap. Let's see. I'll just do cool art and hope nothing nasty comes up. That looks pretty cool. Alright, so with QuickCap, I can launch it. And so this is another tool entirely, but I'm going to show how quick and convenient it is to actually have it and work with WinClickPro. It allows you to steal art real fast and use it. So I'll just do a quick selection. Do that. Open up WinClickPro, and why don't we just go to go to this view, and I'll customize it. Customize background image, change, and with QuickCap I just did a quick copy selection. Now I can do a power paste and paste the path right in without having to go find that file and deal with all that noise. So there you go, it's added. So you need to resize it a little bit, make it look better. Okay, so there. Now that's a part of my UI. So I'm able to go out and grab whatever I want, put it all together, do some neat things. Can assign an action to it. Launch something. Okay. No text because I just want this image. So part of my everyday working experience, I can go boom and boom and boom, and that launches no bad. So. Alright, what else? Oh, I think this one's important to me because I was so annoyed with the way they had moved the desktop button on us and everything else. So if you want, create your own desktop button, put it wherever you want, go in and assign show desktop to it, hit OK, and now you have a show, oops, did I assign it or not? I must have missed it. Show desktop add first, then OK. There we go. So now this is my show desktop button. Okay, so if I actually had something open, boom. Okay, and then if I want to reopen everything, boom. So notice my mouse though. This is key. So here I am working on this. Okay, I need to see the desktop icons. Okay, there. Now I go. Now I want back. I'm moving my mouse only a few inches to get the things that I need done, and I'm not going all the way to the corner and then all the way back. I think that's important. So one of the things I did, and I guess this will be one of the last things here, is I actually went out and found the Windows like 10 UI, and I was able to copy and paste all of the different UI that they have and make my own Windows 10 experience using WinClickPro. You know, something similar. It's not exact, you can't slide everything around, but I can get that sort of look if I want it. So anyway, that's WinClickPro. As quickly as I can explain everything. Hope you give it a try and find it useful. Thanks for your time.